Okay, so we were done with the first numerical. We will see one more numerical. Now, this numerical is a bit tricky, and here in this numerical, we will be learning a few more concepts, which will be very important from examination point of view and from knowledge point of view as well. So, here see the question. In the question, it has been given that we have a counter flow heat exchanger, counter flow double pipe heat exchanger actually. So, what is the type of heat exchanger? That does not matter. The only thing which matters is what is the classification on the basis of relative velocity of the fluids. So it is counter flow heat exchanger. Now for this counter flow heat exchanger, one superheated steam is flowing. One of the fluids is superheated steam. It is used to heat water. This is not hot water. This is heat water. So steam is used to heat water. So what is the hot fluid for us? Water or steam?
Steam.
Okay, steam is the
Steam, sir.
hot fluid and water is the cold fluid at a rate of 10500 kg per hour. Now, steam enters the heat exchanger at 180 degrees Celsius. It leaves at 130 degrees Celsius. It means that the inlet temperature of steam is 180 and outlet temperature of steam is 130. So here we have inlet of the hot fluid. It is entering from this side. Sorry, since it is counter flow, we will see this diagram. It is entering from this side and it is leaving from this side. Inlet temperature is 180. This is TH1 value and this is TH2 value. TH2 is 130 degrees Celsius. Uh, for the other fluid for water, water is entering at 30 degrees Celsius. Now, since it is counter flow heat exchanger, water will be entering from the opposite side. Is that part clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And water will be flowing from right to left and it will be exiting the heat exchanger at a temperature of 80 degrees Celsius. So TC1 is 30 and TC2 value is 80 degrees Celsius. This is the data given to us till now. Now, in the question, they are saying that if overall heat transfer coefficient from steam to water, that is 814 watt per meter square degree Celsius. It means this is the H value or this is capital U value. Capital U value is given to you. It is 814 watt per meter square Kelvin or 814 watt per meter square degree Celsius. What we need to do, we need to find out the heat transfer area. So we will see what formula we have. We have three different relations for heat transfer. So Q is equal to MC CC TC2 minus TC1 TC2 minus TC1. It is equal to MH CH MH CH TH1 minus TH2. And what is the third relation? Anyone, what is the third relation for heat transfer?
U.
UA theta M.
UA theta M,
Theta M.
where U is overall heat transfer coefficient, A is area of the heat exchanger, U is overall heat transfer coefficient, A is area of the heat exchanger, and theta M is logarithmic mean temperature difference. Now we will see what data has been given to us. In the question, what they are doing, I'll just use eraser once. So in the question, what they are giving you, we have a counter flow heat exchanger. It is uh, using steam to heat water, and water is flowing at a rate of 10500 kg per hour. This is mass flow rate of water, or we can say that this is mass flow rate of the cold fluid. Mass flow rate of the cold fluid, that is 10500 kg per hour. You can convert the same in kg per second. So we are getting 10500 divided by 3600, which is 2.917 kg per second. This is MC value for us. So
Yes, sir.
MC value is known. Uh, MH value is not known properly. I mean, they are not mentioning in the question if MH value is same or not. Generally, it should be same. Here, MH value is not mentioned in the question. CH value is not mentioned in the question, that what is the specific heat for steam. but TH1 and TH2 values are given. So here using this formula, using the second formula, we cannot find out the rate of heat transfer. But if we will see the first relation, MC value is given. And what is CC value? What is the cold fluid for us? What is the cold
Water.
fluid? Water. And
Water.
what is specific heat for water?
814.
4.187.
4.187.
4.187.
And the unit?
7
Unit
kilojoule
is?
per
Okay. Kilojoule per kg Kelvin.
kg
This is
Kelvin.
the, okay. So this is the value of CC. Though this is not given in the question, but we know this value. This value will always be known to us. You cannot consider this as an unknown data.
So
So
doubt
CC
time.
value is, yeah, yeah, ask.
So H is denoted for hot water and C is denoted for cold water. So
H
in the
is denoted
question,
for hot fluid and C is denoted for
a cold fluid.
cold fluid. Here, hot fluid is steam. It is not water. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
Now,
in the question, it's written hot water at the rate of mass flow rate is given, and we
not
are
hot water.
substituting it.
Not hot water. Here, this word is heat water. Superheated steam is used to heat water. This word should be heat.
Heat water.
Heat. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Heat water. Water at rate of 10500. It means this is the mass flow rate of water. Read like this.
So it's a cold water which is heated.
Yeah, cold water is the one which is being heated.
Okay, sir.
So this is the mass flow rate of cold water. Is that part clear now?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. So MC value is known. MC value is 10500. We have converted the same in kg per second. And CC value is 4.187 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Or we can write the same as 4.187 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 joules per kg Kelvin. Make sure that everything is converted in SI form. TC2 value is given and TC1 value is given. So can we find the rate of heat transfer using this relation? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we can find the rate of heat transfer using this relation. Once we find the rate of heat transfer, we have one more relation for heat transfer. So we have this Q is equal to UA multiplied by theta M. So if you will go for that particular relation, see what we are getting. Q value, have we determined the Q value?
Yes,
Have we
sir.
determined Q value using this relation? We have
We
already
found it in
determined.
Yes, sir.
MC
Okay.
delta T.
Okay. We have determined Q value using that relation. And is U value given in the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know a method to find out theta M value?
Yes.
Okay. So if we can determine this theta M value, can we find out the area of the heat exchanger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this question seems to be very simple. But when you will go to find out this theta M value, one complication is going to come. So we will see what that complication is. Any doubt till this part? Till now, any doubt is there? What we are doing, we are finding Q value first using this relation MCCC TC2 minus TC1. We are substituting the Q value in the other relation, which is Q is equal to UA theta M. In UA theta M, U is known. And if we find out theta M value, we can determine the area of the heat exchanger, which we had to calculate in the question. Is this part clear? Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Okay. Now, if you will go to find out theta M value, see theta M is given as theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by ln theta 1 by theta 2, or theta 2 minus theta 1 divided by ln theta 2 by theta 1. Everyone remembers that relation?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we will see the value of theta 1 for counter flow heat exchanger, tell me what is the value of theta 1. Do we get theta 1 on this side? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you will
Yes,
find
sir.
out theta 1 value, theta 1 is equal to what? What is the value for theta 1?
180.
100.
180
100.
minus
180.
80. Yeah, yes, sir.
180 minus
Minus
80,
80.
which is 100.
100.
Degree, sir.
Okay. Similarly, what is the value for theta 2?
130
Same.
minus 30.
100.
130 minus 30, which is 100.
100.
So here we are getting that theta 1 and theta 2, both the values are same. So if we will go to find out this theta m value, we are getting 100 minus 100 divided by ln 100 by 100.
It's 1.
Okay, which is 1. Now here what do we get on the numerator side? 100 minus 100 is equal to what?
0.
0. And ln
0.
100 by 100 is equal to what?
1.
0.
I mean, 0
ln
again.
Yeah.
ln
0.
1, which is equal to 0. So this can be written as 0 by 0. Any doubt till this part?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Since we are getting 0 by 0 form, it means this value of theta m is indeterminate in this case. So whenever you are getting such a case, see how to find out theta m value. So I will just skip a few slides. I'll move to the next slide and I'll explain you the condition. So here we have a special condition. This special condition is only for counter flow arrangement. Why only for counter flow arrangement? Because if you will see a parallel flow arrangement, in parallel flow arrangement here the value is theta 1. As the fluid flows, as the hot fluid flows across the area of the heat exchanger, its temperature will be dropping down, and temperature for the cold fluid will be increasing continuously. So in this case, if I am talking about theta value will be decreasing continuously across the length of the heat exchanger. So in no case theta 1 will be equal to theta 2 for a parallel flow heat exchanger. But for counter flow heat exchanger, it is possible that theta 1 is equal to theta 2. Are you getting this part?
Yes,
Or
sir.
no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a special case only for counter flow heat exchanger. Now, when we are getting this special case, see LMTD is given as theta 2 minus theta 1 by ln theta 2 by theta 1. In this case, theta 2 is equal to theta 1, which we are taking as theta. So if we are finding the value of theta m, we are getting the form 0 by 0. Now this is indeterminate. So in order to find out theta m value, we are going to use L'Hospital's rule, L'Hopital rule. You people remember what is L'Hopital rule?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is used to calculate limits. So we will convert
sir.
this question as a question of limits. Here I have rewritten the equation for theta m. Theta m is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1 by ln theta 2 by theta 1. What we can do, we can take theta 1 common in the expression. On the numerator side, take theta 1 outside. So if I am taking this theta 1 outside, this term is going to become theta 2 by theta 1, and this term is going to become
1.
1. So we get theta 2 by theta 1 minus 1 whole divided by ln theta 2 by theta 1. We are going to make one substitution. The substitution is theta 2 by theta 1, that is equal to r. This is the substitution which we are going to make. Now, since theta 2 is equal to theta 1 for our case, we can say that the value theta 2 by theta 1 or the value r, this will be tending to 1. Can we write like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we have in our case, or in this particular case, this theta m value will be equal to theta 1 multiplied by theta 2 minus theta 2 by theta 1, which is written as r, minus 1 divided by ln theta 2 by theta 1, which is again written as r. Can we write like this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And r is tending to
1.
1. So if r is tending to 1, here this limit will be of the form 0 by 0. Whenever we are getting the form 0 by 0, using L'Hospital's rule, what we can do, we can differentiate the numerator and the denominator, and we can substitute the limit again. Do we do that?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So if we will differentiate the numerator side, what do we get? We get theta m is equal to theta 1 multiplied by 1 minus 0. Differential of r will be equal to what? 1, and differential of 1 will be what? 0. So we get theta 1 multiplied by 1 minus 0, which is equal to
Theta 1.
Theta 1.
theta 1. So on the numerator side, we are getting theta 1. On the denominator side, we had ln r. So if you will differentiate ln r, what do we get? We get 1 by r. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if we will substitute the value of r, tell me r was tending to what?
1.
R is tending to 1. So if r is tending to 1, theta m is equal to what?
Theta
Theta
1.
1.
Theta 1. Theta m is equal to theta 1 and theta 1 was equal to theta 2. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So we can say that the mean temperature difference or logarithmic mean temperature difference will be equal to theta 1 or theta 2 in this case. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this was the mathematical explanation of the same. Now see the logical explanation of the same condition. Here what we have, on this side the temperature difference is theta 1. On the other side the temperature difference is theta 2. Both the temperature differences are same. So we can write that as theta and theta. Now suppose that we have a class. In a class we have say 100 students and all of them are scoring 40 marks. So 40, 40, 40 for everyone. So what is the average mark of that class?
40.
40. Is that logic clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
similarly
sir.
here, if here the temperature difference is theta, here also temperature difference is theta, it means these two curves will be parallel to each other and for the entire journey the temperature difference will be equal to theta. Is that part clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay. If for the entire journey the temperature difference is theta, it means what is the mean temperature difference? It is equal to theta only.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So this is the logical explanation that why we are going to use theta m as theta 1 or theta 2. Any doubt in this part now? Anyone? Is the concept clear to all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. So we will get back to our solution. Now, we don't have much to do in the solution. What we can do, we can find out theta m value. So in this condition, we were getting that theta 1 is equal to 100, theta 2 is equal to 100. So since theta 1 is equal to theta 2, theta m will also be equal to 100 degrees Celsius. Can we find out theta m directly? Yes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now our aim was to find out area. So we are going to use the same procedure. This rate of heat transfer can be given as U multiplied by A multiplied by theta m. Rate of heat transfer can also be given as mccc Tc2 minus Tc1. So we are going to equate both of them. Now see what are the known values. Here this mc is known, cc is known, Tc2 is known, Tc1 is known. U is given in the question. Theta m we have calculated as 100 degrees Celsius. So this area is the only unknown in the expression. So can we find out area using this relation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So area for this case has been determined. This was the first part of the question. The question said, calculate the heat transfer area for the given case. And the given case was, it is a counterflow heat exchanger. Now, second part of the question, what would be increase in area if fluid flows were parallel? So if it is a parallel flow heat exchanger, what is the area value? This we have to determine. And if we determine the area value, we have to find out the percentage increase in area. So they are saying that the area might increase if it is a parallel flow heat exchanger. What is the percentage increase in area? This has to be stated. Is that part clear now? Is the question clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what
Sir,
we have
can
done?
you repeat?
Okay. The question says, what would be increase in area if fluid flows were parallel? So I will consider this as case 2. This is case 2 when the fluid flow is parallel. One was it is a counter flow heat exchanger. This is case 1. For case 1, this is the curve. This is the curve for case 1 and this is the curve for parallel flow heat exchanger. I will call this as case 2. For case 1, we are already done with the area value. This is the area for case 1. What we need to do, we need to find out the area for this case 2. what will be area in this case, area of the heat exchanger for this case, this has to be determined. If we determine this area, we have to see whether this area is greater than the previous area or smaller than the previous area. If it is greater than the previous area, we have to find out the percentage increase, that how much by how much percent this area is greater than the previous one. Is the question clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So again, we are going to use the same logic. So Q is equal to MC delta T. This Q value we already have. Q is also equal to U multiplied by A multiplied by theta M. So U value remains the same, but this theta M value is going to change for parallel flow heat exchanger. Here the theta M value is going to change. So to find out theta M, we have the relation theta M is equal to theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by ln theta 1 by theta 2. For this parallel flow heat exchanger, can you tell me what is the value of theta 1?
150 degrees Celsius.
Okay, it is 150. So we get theta 1 is equal to 150. What is the value of theta 2?
50.
So 150 minus 50 divided by ln 150 by 50, which is 3. This gives you the mean temperature difference. This gives you LMTD value, logarithmic mean temperature difference. So if we find out theta M value, can we find out the area for this case as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So same thing has been done in the question. When the flow is parallel, theta M is equal to theta 1 minus theta 2 by ln theta 1 by theta 2. They are getting it as 150 minus 50 divided by ln 150 by 50, and it is approximately equal to 91 degrees Celsius. Now in the expression for Q, this Q is equal to MC TC TC2 minus TC1. This is equal to U multiplied by area multiplied by theta M, which we have calculated over here. So from here, can we find out area for this given case? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if we will see the area terms for both the cases, here I will write this is parallel flow and here we have counter flow. We will compare two different things. First, we are going to compare logarithmic mean temperature difference, and then we are going to compare area. So if you will see logarithmic mean temperature difference for counter flow, what was the value for logarithmic mean temperature difference? What value did we get over here in counter flow?
100.
Okay, theta M was equal to theta 1 equal to theta 2, which was equal to 100. For parallel flow, what mean temperature difference we got?
91.
91.
91. Which one is higher, counter flow or
Counter.
parallel flow? Okay, so
Counter.
this one is higher and this one is lower. For area term, what is the area for counter flow?
7.5 meters.
0.5.
Okay, we have 7.5 in this case, and here how much do we have?
8.24.
8.24. 8.24. Which area is greater? Parallel flow or counter flow?
Parallel.
Okay,
Parallel
so this parallel flow area is greater, and for counter flow, the area is smaller. And in both the cases, whether you are using parallel flow or counter flow, are we going to get the same rate of heat transfer? If I'm comparing the rate of heat transfer, do we get the same rate of heat transfer?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here both of them are equal to each other. This rate of heat transfer was MCCC TC2 minus TC1. It remains the same for both the cases. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So from here we can conclude that for same rate of heat transfer, this counter flow heat exchanger will be requiring a lower area. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
If
So
you
it's
are
more
using,
effective, sir.
Yes, sir.
yeah, it is more effective. You can say like this. So whenever you are using counter flow heat exchanger, for same rate of heat transfer, you need to invest less material. So which type of heat exchanger are you going to use generally? Counter flow or parallel flow?
Counter flow.
Counter. Good. So generally, whatever heat exchanger you will see, most of the heat exchangers will be of counter flow type. So this was the point of putting this numerical over here. So based on this, we will make some conclusions. First conclusion is LMTD for parallel flow will be higher than LMTD for counter flow. Sorry, LMTD for parallel flow, that will be lower than LMTD for counter flow, and area requirement for parallel flow, that will be higher than area requirement of counter flow. These are the conclusions which we can make, or same thing has been written in the next slide. So here you can see that counter flow arrangement, it provides more uniform temperature difference along the flow, hence better rate of heat flow. What does the statement mean? Here we have put both the diagrams side by side to each other. If you will see the temperature difference in this case, so as we will move along the length of the heat exchanger, the temperature difference keeps on varying. Can you see this part? It will be decreasing continuously. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
sir.
but if you will see a counter flow heat exchanger, in counter flow heat exchanger, this temperature difference term, this is uniform throughout. Or even if some variation will be there, the variation is not much. This variation will be very little. So since it is very little variation, we can see that here we have uniform temperature difference maintained throughout the length, and here the temperature difference is not uniform. It is varying throughout the length. So in this case, we can achieve a higher rate of heat transfer, and here we can achieve a lower rate of heat transfer. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
If the area value is same, if areas of the heat exchanger is same, here the Q term will be lower and here the Q term will be higher. This is what we mean by the statement. So next conclusion, if the LMTD for a counter flow heat exchanger, it will always be greater than LMTD for a parallel flow heat exchanger. Now I will omit this term, it will always be greater. In most of the cases, it is greater. And if not greater, it will be equal. So instead of writing always greater than, you could write it is always greater than or equal to LMTD of a parallel flow heat exchanger. After this slide, we will see a few cases when it is equal to LMTD of a parallel flow heat exchanger. Any doubt in this part till now, except that equal to part?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, since LMTD for counter flow, it will be greater. So area requirement will be smaller for counter flow heat exchanger. Since area requirement is less, we will be using less material for it. And hence using counter flow heat exchanger will be more economical. And here for same rate of heat transfer, area requirement will be low. Thus it will be more commonly used. It is going to be usually used. Can we move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This special case of counter flow arrangement, this was done. I think no doubt in this part. Can we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here we have three different cases. Till now the cases which we were talking about. For those cases, temperatures of both the fluids were changing. Say we have a parallel flow heat exchanger. So hot fluid was losing heat. Its temperature was dropping down. Cold fluid was gaining heat. Its temperature was increasing. But it is also possible that for one of the fluids, phase changes taking place. For example, if you will see the first case, here we have some inlet of the hot fluid. It is exiting in this particular direction. And for this particular fluid, what is happening? The temperature remains constant. If temperature remains constant, it means that though it is losing heat, its temperature is not changing. So from here we can infer that phase change might be taking place. Here if the inlet is in vapor form, maybe the outlet would be in liquid form. This might be the case. So if vapor is being converted to liquid, it will be losing heat continuously, but the temperature of the fluid is not going to change. Is this part clear to everyone? How are we getting this
Yes,
diagram?
sir.
Okay. We have one more fluid. This cold fluid is extracting heat from the vapor and hence its temperature will be increasing continuously. Can you see this part? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in the previous slide, we talked about logarithmic mean temperature difference of parallel flow and counter flow. Here we will discuss the same for this particular case. So I will redraw a diagram. I'll just introduce a screen over here. So I'm going to draw the diagram for two cases. First is parallel flow type, second is counter flow type. In both the cases, condensation of one of the fluids will be taking place, or condensation of the hot fluid will be taking place. So we have hot fluid, its condensation is taking place. It means it will be entering like this and it will be moving in this direction, and the temperature for this fluid will be constant. Is this part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, consider the temperature at the inlet that is equal to 100. So at outlet also temperature will be equal to 100. TH1 and TH2 values are same. The heat from this particular hot fluid or from vapor, here you can say that it is steam at 100 degrees Celsius, and here it is water at 100 degrees Celsius. So heat from steam is absorbed by one more fluid, one more coolant, and as the coolant is absorbing heat, its temperature will be increasing continuously. Say the inlet temperature for this coolant was 20 degrees Celsius, and here at the outlet we are getting say 70 degrees Celsius. Just an example. Now here if you are asked to find out theta 1 value, can you tell me theta 1 value in this case? What is theta 1 value?
80, sir.
Degrees Celsius.
Okay, theta 1 is equal to 80, and what is theta 2 value?
30 degrees Celsius.
30 degrees
Okay.
Celsius.
Theta 2 is 30. Theta 2 is equal to 30. Okay, we will draw the same arrangement for counter flow heat exchanger. For counter flow heat exchanger, the direction of flow of both the fluids will be in opposite direction. So this hot fluid is flowing in the same direction. Its temperature remains the same. So here it is starting from 100. It is ending at 100. The other fluid should be entering from the opposite side. Yes, no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Yes,
what
sir.
will be inlet temperature for that fluid? What will be the inlet temperature for that fluid? What will be this temperature value?
20
Yes,
degrees
sir.
Celsius.
20.
Okay, this is equal to 20 degrees Celsius. As it will be moving, it is going to gain heat from the steam, and outlet temperature will be equal to what?
70.
Okay,
70.
this temperature will be equal to 70. If you will find out theta value in this case, what is theta value? What is theta 1 value?
30, sir.
30 degrees.
30.
30, and theta 2 is what?
80
80.
degrees Celsius.
80. So if you will see theta m in this case, theta m can be written as 80 minus 30 divided by ln 80 by 30. Can we write like this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly,
Yes,
in
sir.
this case, can we say that this theta m value, that is 30 minus 80, 30 minus 80 divided by ln 30 by 80, can we write like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are both of them the same terms?
No.
No, sir.
These two are not same. Okay. Take negative sign common. Here, if I'm taking minus sign common, can we write it as minus of minus 30 plus 80? Can we write like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here, if you are taking minus sign common, so can we write it as minus of 80 by 30? Can we write like this? See,
Yes, sir.
ln A, can we write it as minus of ln 1 by A? You people remember this property? You people know this property?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you will cancel out the minus signs, here minus sign and minus sign is gone. See, what are we getting? 80 minus 30. 80 minus 30 divided by ln 80 by 30 divided by ln 80 by 30. So are both the terms same?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So, but for the same area, generally, the temperature wouldn't be 70 in the second case. It would be lesser than 70, right?
Sorry.
The temperature change or the temperature gained by the cold fluid would be higher than just 50 degrees Celsius because of
Uh,
counter flow.
no, it won't be. I'll just explain that point. So here if I am talking about heat gained by the cold fluid, or here heat lost by the hot fluid, for being converted from this vapor to liquid, is it going to uh, throw out a particular amount of heat? I am calling this as enthalpy of evaporation. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here also same thing is happening. Here also it is going to throw out enthalpy of evaporation. Here also heat thrown out will be same,
Yes, sir.
because here also phase change is taking place and the conditions of inlet and outlet are same in both the cases. Now
Okay, sir. I got
here,
it.
okay. For others, I'll explain. Here inlet temperature for cold water is 20. Here also inlet temperature for cold water is 20. In both the cases, the heat absorbed value will be equal to mc delta T. Since here the heat absorbed is H evaporation, here also heat absorbed is H evaporation, it means delta T value should be same for both the cases. Since here delta T value is 50, here also delta T value should be 50. And if here the final temperature is 70, here also the final temperature should be 70. Is that clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we are talking about a condenser, for a condenser, whether you are using parallel flow condenser or a counter flow condenser, the conditions remain the same. The LMTD value remains the same and the area requirements will be same. Is that part clear to all? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, same goes for a evaporator as well. Here what we have a evaporator. So in this case, this will be theta 1 value, this will be theta 2 value. Whether you use a parallel flow evaporator or a counter flow evaporator, you are going to get similar LMTD values, same LMTD values. In this case, what is happening? The cold fluid, it is being converted from liquid to vapor. It is being converted from liquid to vapor. So it will be absorbing some heat and phase change is taking place. So temperature for the cold fluid that remains constant. The hot fluid is giving out heat. So temperature for the hot fluid will be dropping down continuously. This will be theta 1 value. This will be theta 2 value. If you will use a counter flow arrangement, what is going to happen? The direction of this fluid will be reversed and it will be flowing like this. In this case also theta 1 and theta 2 values remain the same. If theta 1 and theta 2 values remain the same, it means LMTD value will be same for both the cases. Is that part clear to all or any doubt in this logic?
Clear, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So this first one, this case will be called as condensation and the heat exchanger can be termed as a condenser. Second one, the process is evaporation and the heat exchanger can be called as a evaporator. This last case here, condensation for one fluid is taking place and evaporation for the other fluid is taking place. If we are talking about the hot fluid, so for the hot fluid, some vapor is entering and liquid will be coming out. For the cold fluid, the fluid is entering in liquid form and it is coming out in vapor form. So heat lost by the hot fluid will be used to evaporate the cold fluid. And when the hot fluid is losing heat, it is condensing to liquid state. Is this part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since phase change of both the liquids is taking place, the temperatures for both the fluids remain constant. Now, whether the fluids are flowing in same direction or fluids are flowing in opposite directions, the values of theta 1 and theta 2 will remain constant. And in this case, this theta 1 and theta 2 value will be constant throughout the length, or we can say that theta 1 is equal to theta 2. And hence, in this case, LMTD value will be equal to theta for both the cases, whether it is parallel flow or counter flow. Is this part clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again,
sir.
recall a statement which I had made that for parallel flow heat exchanger, this theta 1 is never equal to theta 2. I had made one statement like this, but the statement is not true for this case. In this case, even if you are using a parallel flow heat exchanger or a counter flow heat exchanger, these values are always going to be equal. Is this part clear or any doubt in this part?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Now, One more thing which you need to infer from this case, till now, whenever we were writing this relation for Q, we were writing Q is equal to MC CC TC2 minus TC1, TC2 minus TC1, or we were writing it as MH CH TH1 minus TH2. These were the relations which we were using. Now, if we will talk about this particular process, here condensation is taking place. So here this H1 and H2 values will be same. It does not mean that rate of heat transfer is equal to 0. So we cannot use this relation for condensation or evaporation, because here the heat which is being lost or which is being gained, that is not sensible heat, that is latent heat. So you need to apply the relation of heat transfer for latent heat. We can say that this Q value will be equal to mass flow rate multiplied by latent heat of vaporization or latent heat of condensation for the given case. Is this part clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here one more thing which we had already concluded, that LMTD for counter flow and parallel flow heat exchanger in case of condensers and in case of evaporators, that is same. Whether you are using a parallel flow condenser or a counter flow condenser, both will have same LMTD. Whether you are using parallel flow evaporator or a counter flow evaporator, both will have same LMTD. This is what the statement means. No doubt in this part?
No doubt, sir.
Okay. So with this, we are done with the first method of analysis of heat exchangers, which was LMTD method. No other concept is there in LMTD. Next, we have to discuss effectiveness NTU method. This discussion we will not do today, but we will talk about what effectiveness of a heat exchanger is. After that, we will end the class. So, anyone can tell me what is effectiveness of a fin? This term effectiveness we have discussed before also, and that discussion was done in fins. So, effectiveness of a fin is equal to what? You people have solved one assignment also on same. I had used one example for teaching you effectiveness, that tutor example. Anyone who can tell me what is effectiveness of a fin?
Sir,
Sir,
Q
it
fin
is
by Q max.
Q divided by Q without fin.
Okay, good. Someone said Q fin by Q without fin. This was one of the answers. Q fin by Q without fin. This will be the correct answer. What is your performance with the tutor divided by what is your performance without the tutor? That was effectiveness of the tutor. Someone else said it is Q fin divided by Q max. This is not effectiveness, this is efficiency. This term was called as efficiency of heat exchanger. Sorry, efficiency of a fin. Any doubt in this part? Any doubt in efficiency of a? Any doubt in effectiveness of a fin?
Also.
Okay, but when we talk about heat exchanger, this effectiveness definition is changed. Here, effectiveness was Q fin by Q without fin, and efficiency was Q fin divided by Q max. When we are talking about effectiveness of heat exchanger is given by Q actual divided by Q max. Is this part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
It's the opposite, sir.
Okay. See, in heat exchanger, we don't have any term like efficiency. We don't define efficiency for heat exchanger. We
Okay.
define only effectiveness of heat exchanger. And this effectiveness is Q actual divided by Q max. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when we were talking about fins, this Q max had a given condition. Q max was taken when the entire surface of the fin is maintained at base temperature. That was the condition for Q max. In our case, the Q max value will be different. Here for heat exchangers, this Q max value will be different. So this effectiveness definition for heat exchangers and fins, that is entirely different. Q max definition for heat exchangers and fins, that is entirely different. So you need to be careful that this particular term is asked in which particular topic. they can ask for definitions in both the topics. They can simply say define effectiveness. So in order to define effectiveness, you must see that the question is in which particular module, whether the question has been given in second module or it has been given in fifth module. If the question is in second module, it means they are asking you about the effectiveness of a pen. If the question is in fifth module, it means they are asking about effectiveness of a heat exchanger. And you need to write the corresponding definitions. Clear to all, or any doubt in this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, here Q actual term, I think you can find out this Q actual. For Q actual, we had discussed three different formulae. One was capital CH, TH1 minus TH2, TH1 minus TH2. Second was CC, TC2 minus TC1, and the third formula was
UA theta m.
UA theta m. These are the three different formulae for Q actual. This can be determined very easily. Now we will see what is the condition for Q max, in which case we are going to get maximum rate of heat transfer. So I'll just take 5 more minutes. For that, we will discuss one example. Say that we have two different fluids which are flowing. We have the hot fluid. The hot fluid is entering at 100 degrees Celsius. We have cold fluid. The cold fluid is entering at 20 degrees Celsius. Now tell me what is the minimum temperature which this hot fluid can achieve?
Greater than 20.
Sorry?
It has to be greater than 20.
Okay. Can't it be equal to 20?
No.
Okay. If
the heat is completely lost to surroundings, then yeah.
Okay, so suppose we are taking a heat exchanger of infinite length. This length of the heat exchanger is infinite. In that case, what can be the minimum temperature of this hot fluid?
Atmospheric temperature.
Atmospheric temperature or temperature of this fluid?
Fluid also achieves the temperature of atmosphere.
Okay, say that it is insulated. The heat exchanger is completely insulated. This was our assumption in the first case while deriving LMTD. So there is no interaction with the atmosphere.
Then it's 20
Okay,
degrees.
then it will be 20 degrees Celsius. This is the
So
minimum.
how so? You said it's insulated. So all the heat from the hot fluid is lost to the cold fluid. So cold
Yeah,
fluid
right.
has to rise in temperature, or at least change phase.
Okay, what if it is counter flow heat exchanger? See, 100 degrees Celsius is entering from this side and 20 degrees Celsius is entering from this side. So, can we achieve a case like this? Can we achieve a case like this? It is going from 100 to 20 and this one is going from 20 to some other temperature. Say it is going from 20 to 80. Can we achieve a case like this? Is it possible? Because up till here heat exchange is possible. Here also some temperature difference is there. Here also temperature difference is there. Here also temperature difference is there. So heat transfer between the two fluids was possible. Once the temperature becomes equal, now heat transfer is not possible. It means that the lowest temperature for this hot fluid can be 20 degrees Celsius. Can we say like this? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is this concept clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, here 100 degrees Celsius is flowing like this, and we have got a fluid at 20 degrees Celsius. The maximum temperature which can be achieved by this 20 degrees Celsius fluid, can it be equal to 100 degrees Celsius? This case is also possible. This was 100 and this fluid was entering at 20. So can we say that maximum temperature which can be achieved by 20 degrees Celsius, this is equal to 100 degrees Celsius? Yes or no? Are you getting this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, it means the maximum temperature difference which is possible for both the cases, which is possible for hot fluid and the cold fluid, the maximum temperature difference is TH1 minus TC1. This is the maximum possible temperature difference for both the cases. Here also it is TH1 minus TC1. Are you getting this part?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. But if we are talking about what is the heat which is lost by the hot fluid, so this will be written as CH TH1 minus TC1? Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is the maximum heat which can be lost by the hot fluid, and this is the maximum heat which can be gained by the cold fluid. Any doubt in this part?
No, sir.
Okay. Now keep these values apart. We will see some other example. We have two different persons. The first person can lend money. This fellow can lend money, and the other one can borrow money. And after borrowing the money, he has to keep the money in a pocket. He has to keep the money in this particular pocket. Now, he can lend 1,000 rupees, but his pocket has the capacity to store only 800 rupees. So, what is the maximum transaction which can take place between these two people?
800.
800. Is that part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, if this fellow can lend only 800 rupees and his pocket has capacity to store 1,000 rupees, what is the maximum transaction which can take place between these people?
Still 800.
Still 800. It means, suppose that these are values of heat transfers. The heat which can be lost by the hot fluid, that is equal to 1000 watts. The heat which can be gained by the cold fluid, that is equal to 800 watts. So in these two cases, what is Q max value? Whether it is 1000 or it is 800? See, the person which is lending money, that is hot fluid. Money is nothing but money is heat. So hot fluid is lending 1000 watts of heat. Cold one is borrowing heat. So cold one can borrow only 800 watts of heat. So how much heat exchange will take place between the two fluids?
800.
800.
Watts.
Okay. Now here in this case, this TH1 minus TC1, both the values are same. And here 1000 is greater than 800. So for this particular case, can I say that CH was greater than CC?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when CH is greater than CC, when CC is the smaller specific heat or CC is the smaller heat capacity, in that case, I will say that Qmax value is equal to CC TH1 minus TC1. This is the maximum heat transfer which can take place between the two fluids. Are you getting this part?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, see the second case. Second case, what do we have? We have the maximum heat which can be lost by the hot fluid, that is equal to 800 watts. The maximum heat which can be gained by the cold fluid, that is equal to 1000 watts. So tell me which value is greater, CH or CC? In this case, which value is greater, CH or CC?
CC.
CC is greater
CC.
because CC is greater. So since CC is greater, here what is the maximum heat transfer which can take place, 800 or 1000?
800.
800. Still 800 is the maximum heat transfer which can take place. So again it is the lower quantity multiplied by TH1 minus TC1. Are you getting this part? I can write that this Q max value, the maximum heat transfer which can take place between the two fluids, this will be equal to C min multiplied by TH1 minus TC1. Can we write like this? C min is minimum of CH and CC. Can we write like this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone, any doubt in this part? If this part is not clear, you will not understand effectiveness or NTU method.
So if you're obtaining the maximum value, then why we are choosing C minimum?
Because the maximum heat exchange will be depending on the capacity. Here, though this value is greater, this 1000 value is greater than 800, but this heat exchange of 1000 cannot take place because the other body could not store 1000 watts completely. The other body could store only 800 watts. So the maximum rate of heat transfer between the two bodies will be the minimum of these two values. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir. Understood. Understood,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
Here we have maximum rates of heat transfer for both the fluids. The hot fluid can give a maximum of CH minus TC1. It can give a maximum of 1000 rupees. The cold fluid can take a maximum of CC minus TC1. It can take a maximum of 800 rupees. So in this case, the maximum heat transfer will be minimum of these two values, which is CC minus TC1, or we can write in general form as C min multiplied by TH1 minus TC1. Any doubt in this part now?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Same thing has been put here. So if CH value is lower, tell me which value will be lower. We have CH TH1 minus TC1, and the other one is CC TH1 minus TC1. This first one is representing maximum heat which can be lost by the hot body. This is representing maximum heat which can be gained by the cold body. Now for the first case, when CH is less than CC, which value will be higher? The first one or the second one? When CH is less than CC, which value is higher? First one or second one?
Second one.
Second one will be higher. So can we say that this will be equal to 1000 watts and this will be equal to 800 watts? If this is the
Yes, sir.
case, what is Q max value? Whether it is 1000 or it is 800? What is the maximum heat transfer between the bodies? 1000 or 800?
800.
800.
800. Or can I say that Q max value is CH TH1 minus TC1? Can we say
Yes,
that?
sir.
Okay. So for this case, Q max value is CH TH1 minus TC1. For the next case, I'll just use eraser once. Again, for the next case, what do we have? We have CC is less than CH. This is the condition given. CC is less than CH. So again, we have the same rates of heat transfer. In this case, which value will be lower? First one or second one?
Second one.
Second one will be lower. So we can say that this is 1000 and the other one is 800. Still the rate of heat exchange or the rate of money exchange between the two persons, between the two fluids, that will be equal to 800. So can we say that maximum heat exchange is CC TH1 minus TC1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this case, Q max value will be CC TH1 minus TC1. Any doubt in this part?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, if you will see this one, here what is C min value? C min is equal to CH or CC?
CH.
C min is equal to CH. The maximum heat transfer is given by CH TH1 minus TC1. So could we write it as C min multiplied by TH1 minus TC1? We can write like this. Yes?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
In this case, what is C min value? Here CC is the C min value, CC is the lower quantity. So in this case also we can write that this rate of heat transfer is C min TH1 minus TC1. Is this part clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next class again we will continue from
Yes,
the
sir.
same topic. Okay, this will be all for today.